So Simplify IT have always worked in the data centre for large corporate enterprises. Most of those organisations tend to have large teams, so network specialists, security specialists, database, compute servers. What I've actually realised is, as things have moved on and GDPR has actually become prevalent, small companies have exactly the same problems. The main difference is they don't have large teams of people that can specialise in that kind of way, so they need a lot more help. In some cases, they don't even have an IT department. So if we can actually put together packaged solutions that give them the same levels of protection of an enterprise, but without their own staff, then we think that's good for both organisations. Most companies end up using Microsoft Office on the desktop, so everybody's aware of Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So they've become the predominant applications that nearly every company uses, small and large. An Office license, depending on which version you cost, is going to be about £300 a user. Now, in the old days, people would buy a piece of software and they might run it for several years. With security these days, that's not possible. So if we look now, what we're on now, Office 2019, 2016 before that, 2013. So staying on older generations is not good for security. So rather than paying £300, to buy Office every few years, what we're actually seeing people do now is they're actually buying an Office 365 subscription. You can buy it for less than £4 a month for the entry level for Word, Excel, the web-based versions, or less than £10 a month for the full-blown version. That includes an application called Teams. So what Teams is about, it's about being able to have a single repository. So it's basically a document management system. It allows you to use video conferencing and telephone calls. So from one repository, you can store all of your data. Each user will get a terabyte of capacity and a 50 gigabit email box. So the reality is, where before SMEs were buying servers and having email services and using Gmail, what we're saying to people now is, look, Office 365, buy the Business Premium Edition, you get Teams, and the majority of your data can be held in that central repository. This is true collaboration. So where before you might have a big document, you might use Dropbox to actually send that to an end user. If you've got Teams, you can just send them a link to your site. It also means if you get a GDPR request come in, somebody asks for information about a particular area, the data's indexed, so it's very, very easy to manage the data and actually use it. We use it internally to actually manage tasks. So if somebody phones in and wants a piece of work doing, we just create a task, allocate that to a team, put a deadline on there. We can attach any file, any data, any video in there, that gets allocated. Interestingly as well, what happens now is these applications are open on your mobile phone. So previously, if you've got data you want to collaborate, people would need to actually have a VPN to dial into the system. If you've got Microsoft Teams on your phone, you can access all of your email, you can access all the company's data. If you go to a customer meeting, you've got access to everything at your hands without the complexity of setting up VPN networks. If we look at networks have kind of not changed very much over the last 25-year period. So all that's actually happened is network speeds got faster. So we're talking of network speeds both on mobile devices. We're moving now from 4G to 5G, so the speeds are increasing. But in terms of the feature set, networks work. TCP/IP was created decades ago, and that's currently what we're using for most network traffic. As an SME, what I want to see is I want to know what's going on inside my network. So if I'm using Wi-Fi, who's dropping out on the actual network, what applications they're actually using. So if I've only got 10 users and I've only got a small amount of bandwidth, I actually want to know what that bandwidth is being used for. So what we use is we're actually doing a lot of work with Cisco Meraki, and the reason we use that technology is we can actually have a single dashboard. We can see what traffic's going on inside the business. But more importantly, we can see what applications people are running. So when I actually go into the Meraki dashboard, I can see how much of that traffic's being used for people looking at YouTube, looking at Facebook, looking at BBC iPlayer. I've got that visibility. If there's a lot of traffic going on that I don't expect, clearly that allows me to actually stop, make the workers more efficient, or it could be a hack traffic that's actually generating traffic within inside my network. So anybody that's small SME, what they actually need is they need analytics of the network without having lots of network skills. Also, a key is if you haven't got an IT department and you're getting packet drops or you're getting Wi-Fi, you're not sure of the security, what you don't want to do is actually spend lots of money with third-party consultants to come and do that. What Meraki actually does is it allows you to very easily have a quick view of what's going on, not just today, but over a period of time on your network. If you're getting Wi-Fi dropouts, it even gives you actions to fix or recommendations to fix it. So you have to be an expert to have a very advanced network. This technology, it's been around for a few years, and obviously Cisco bought them as as an add-on to their business. We see that in the SME space as absolutely critical. So every day there are billions of spam emails that actually go out, and also phishing attacks. We're an IT company. We actually see daily emails coming through, people requesting for transfer of money, even send. We've had fake purchase orders come through, from companies, and they look very genuine. So what we actually see in the SME space is you need to put that barrier in there. So this is a multi-level area. So in terms of email, what you actually need is you need your email service provider to actually start blocking a lot of the spam, because if we actually look at where spam's coming from, the service providers kind of know which domains are actually bad, which should be on blacklists. So what we typically do is, rather than email getting straight to Office 365, we use technology like Proofpoint. So Proofpoint sits in front of the email. Proofpoint have got a database of all the blacklist websites that we know are actually bad. So it actually blocks a lot of the spam, it blocks a lot of the phishing attacks, blocks a lot of the ransomware. So 90% of rubbish emails don't ever get through to the actual end users at that particular point in time. We can then actually layer that over the top as well. So if we do that, we might actually have users that go to a website that we know is bad. Obviously that can send bad code actually through. So what we also want to do is we want to actually put a service over the top of that, so their web browsers actually directed through a service provider that's only giving people access to good known websites. So all the bad guys out there we actually block by default. So we use a product from Cisco called Umbrella. Umbrella is using a service within Cisco called Talus. Talus have got 300 people full time actually looking at security hacks around the world. So if we use their data to make sure any of our traffic is going down that route first, we block 99% of the bad guys instantly. To employ people internally to do that, it'd be physically impossible. Even we've got 2 full-time staff, there's no way we could provide that service. The best part is it's a small annual charge, based on the number of users we've got in there. So for a small annual charge, we've suddenly increased our security threat massively. When we actually put in the solution, so the solutions, it's like what we've actually created for SME is actually a menu. So it starts with Office 365, and by default that's going to give you Teams. So what we kind of do is, as we deploy the solution, we give the end users some training of how Teams and collaboration actually work. So that changed the way a lot of businesses work. We then actually overlay Proofpoint, we overlay Umbrella. It might actually be, if you've got on-site data, we might put a Veeam solution in to actually back up your data and put that into the cloud. So at that point in time, you're going to be in a much better position. That said, if you've got applications or you've got users that are not that IT savvy, you might need a third party that you can pick the phone up and they're going to actually help you. So we offer a desktop support, and that's actually based on a per user count. So we can become your IT department in times of need. And that actually works. So anybody that doesn't have their own IT department in full, absolutely, that's a really good service to actually add on. It also works if there's an IT department that's actually small and they don't have the specialisation in all of the skills they need. So it might be they can do the day-to-day things, but a more complex project, then they don't have the skill set for, and they can actually call us in to actually do that. So it's a case of filling in the gaps of what the customer has already and what their needs are. We're trying to align our resources to actually match that.